What's going on, everyone? Dylan from Bane Racing. Now, it has been a crazy week. I haven't had much time to film, so I've had to do a lot of little jobs here and there, in and out. And yeah, I've gotten a lot of work done on the Audi and a little bit on the Skyline and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'll tell you what's going on right now. So as you can see, I put the entire front end back of the Audi, so that's ready for intercooler. I just got to mount it all up and do all that stuff. The downpipe's made, and I've even done all, well, this is just tacked for now, but the downpipe's up in there. It's all wrapped, all heat wrapped and everything. I'll get a better view later, but for now I'm working on finishing up the midsection. This goes all the way down to about here, next to the diff. So the cat's in. I've just made the hanger. Obviously it's not fully done. Got to weld it in and clean it up and stuff, but that's why I got that bit of log there. So yeah, cat's in there. And then the muffler's going to be there, and then that's it. So it's almost done. I just have to figure out how to mount the rear muffler and do this section. It is a little bit tight, but I don't think I'll struggle with it, to be honest. I shouldn't be that hard. I ended up running out of bends, so I had to go get some more bends. There, so the cat's all the way down here, which is going to be good. All I got to do is clean this up. I'll MIG it on for now really quickly, and then I won't paint this. This is stainless, but I'll paint all of this once it's done welded, obviously. Put it back in, fully install it, tighten it up, and then work on the back section. Now, I did mention I got some work done on the Skyline, and that is finally got the hub bearing and rear brakes fully assembled. So that's been really struggling. I haven't been able to figure out how to reassemble the rear stub axles because I didn't have a press. But good news on that, I bought a press. So that's why this is not where it's meant to be. But this is a 30-ton press. Unreal. It has made life a hell of a lot easier. Full hydraulic, plus an airline controller. So this thing is an absolute beast. It's a bit painful to try and lift the whole control arm up there and balance it. It's a bit of a two-man job, but yeah, it is an absolute weapon. So that's what's been happening with the Skyline. I can't really do much on the other side of it now because I'm still waiting for the passenger side stub axle to get metal sprayed, because when I bought it, it had a bit of a spun bearing and it rubbed it down a little bit too much, so the back bearing doesn't actually grab anymore. So waiting for that, but until then, yeah, she's going to be sitting for a while, but I do have to get this thing done. So I'm going to be working on that. And these two lovely Ford manifolds. Also, I got some work done on the bike. I'll show you that real quick. So I ended up getting let me take that off. The exhaust manifold fully wrapped, painted and finished. I even got the mount all up in there, done. This exhaust is just a bit of a dummy. It does stick very far out, but even though it's all the way far out, it doesn't actually impede, doesn't hit your leg at all, really. So I got plenty of room there, but I am going to cut it there, turn this in and pretty much dump it just there, and maybe, cut just like half a minute there and make it look real nice, paint it black, and I'll wrap it in the same heat wrap. And then I have to do a bit of a modification with the turbo to turn it all the way, that way, to allow for this part here, because the bracket, I can't have that on a straight line because it just doesn't work. It wants to be on an angle. So I might get it a go fast, or we'll figure something out there, but that's the least of my worries. And yeah, then that's sort of a last minute type thing, but this is where we're at with it. But I'm very happy with the exhaust manifold. That was the first one I've ever done on a bike. Never actually worked on a bike. This is the first bike I've ever worked on. And I got to say, it is really easy. And I know a lot of people that work on bikes, which is funny because they all say the same thing, that bikes are really hard to work on. But to that, I say you've never worked on a damn European car. These things suck. These are way, way harder to work on. But we also got this blown small block Chevy pretty much done. Just got to send it up to machinists. And also bought some more parts for the Audi. I have to show you that really quickly. So this giant box came today from China, and I don't know if you guys can guess what this is. Don't know if I mentioned it before. If I can get it out of the bag. These. So good you can see my reflection in it. So these are going to be replacing my headlight lenses. Now, I know a lot of people that just say, oh, you know, sand it down and do all of that. I don't have that much time. I'd rather just throw that on there. And plus, this was $100. Can you really blame me? $100 for the both front pairs. I think that's going to look absolutely gorgeous once those are replaced, because it is a bit of an old car. Remember, this is a 2010, 2009. It's an old car, so I figured may as well just get some new ones. I already know how to replace these. They're not hard at all, and I think they are going to look gorgeous. But let's get into tacking up these bellies. Let's do it. Okay, so I got all these tacked up, so they're ready for a full run now. I'm going to work on the exhaust for the Audi now. So the reason I haven't fully welded the bellies on these two Ford is because my welding isn't there just yet. You know, Dad has like 11 years more experience than I do, but I'm a good welder. It's just those welds they're a bit tricky, so we're still working on them. So I just ended up getting them tacked for now. I can do all the fuel tanks and stuff, but yeah, these belly welds, they're a lot more trickier than, you know, just the fuel tanks. But yeah, and I should warn you, my steel welding skills aren't the best, but I still make it look pretty enough to pass. So let's get the hanger migged, and then we'll rip the midsection off and then start welding this thing together. And soon this thing's gonna be on the road, which I so look forward to. Let's get into it. So I was wondering, how am I going to put a giant exhaust on the bench and weld it and turn it, and then I ended up putting it perfectly on the gillo. So I'm literally just going to weld it on the gillo, and the earth strap reaches and everything, so it's going to work mint. So before I start, I figured I'll show you guys my setup. Oh, going to be running a nice sharp tungsten. Nice, and this is actually a purple tip. So one thing with welding steel is that these bowl up really quickly on the tungsten tips, especially a very sharp point. And you probably get a few passes out of them. I know I do, because don't know, it just freaking heats up real well, balls up, and then I'm arcing out and it doesn't want to work properly. So I know that definitely helps. And with stuff like these, I use a number 6 or 9. Never figured that part out. One of these cups basically. And yeah, that's pretty much the setup that I run. And yeah, usually some people like a shorter tungsten or a longer, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, purple, nice and small, nice and sharp. I will be stopping, taking this out, resharpening it, and back and forth and back and forth. But yeah, that's pretty much the setup I run with steel. If any of the pro steel guys, I'm far from a pro, I don't do much steel. But any of the steel guys know any other tips, make sure you comment down below and I'll definitely give them a crack. But let's get into welding. So it's a new day. I ended up running out of time to finish welding the exhaust, but that's okay. It's had all night to settle and cool. Because it does take a while. I end up, once I go forward, back each side, I let it sit for 10 minutes, let it cool, let it reset. That's just to mainly balance the heat and that way it doesn't bow. The last time I did an exhaust for my Skyline when I was 18, didn't do that and ended up bowing like a banana, and it doesn't sit as perfect as I want it. So yeah, but now let's finish it today and hopefully we can get it painted in the car and done. The exhaust is finally welded. That took a bit longer than expected, but here we go. It is the longest exhaust piece that I've actually ever welded. So it took me a little while, but came out pretty well. Gotta say, I'm happy with it. I'll let it cool down and then I'll paint it. But I'll probably paint it later today because we have manifolds and runners to cut up. So let's get into those, eh? All right, what are we doing?
I don't know.
That thing is a unit.
Mm.
Look at the size of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to build a manifold around this. That shouldn't be too hard.
No, fairly easy. Actually just moves it out of the way so we don't have to lay the runners over, because generally when you do a blower you have to lay it over like that. And the drama is, because we're accelerating this way, the fuel wants to go backwards, so it's really hard to fill the front two cylinders. So this way we can run them pretty much straight.
Yeah, plenty of room there too.
Yeah. So
why doesn't everyone run one of those? It's just going to make our life way easier.
yeah, I know. So we'll have to give this a little bit because it's got to come up and out. So we've got to allow for, so it doesn't come up and hit the plenum, right?
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. But I've got to shorten those up a little bit, and then same with the NA.
Yeah.
So as you can see, we've got to kick that over. About there, and same with that one. But being NA, we'll still gather them even though it's EFI. I'll
okay.
lean them all in. So we're going to set up to cut them now.
What are they? Twin throttle body up top?
Yeah. So
okay.
EFI, twin throttle body, 2000 CFM up top, minimal, maybe a little bit more. So I'll get these ready to cut. And then we can lay it up. I'll set all the angles now. We'll get this one laid up and then I'll get you to start shaping the plenum so we can get some measurements, calculate plenum volume and go from there.
All right.
Done.
Let's start cutting. Okay, so while he's cutting and doing all that type of stuff, I'm going to quickly test fit the exhaust on the Audi and see where it ends up, and then if it's good, then we'll paint it. I won't paint it now, I'll paint it a little bit later today, but yeah, and let's see how it goes. I'm going to try and do it single-handed, so let's see how it is to install this exhaust by myself. Alrighty, well, before I get into the exhaust and installing all that and wrapping it and everything, I now need to make the plenum for this. That way we can get it done and dusted. So we'll make a test piece, test strip, make sure it all works, fold it up, and then we'll make the actual plenum and cut it and get it ready to pull off and then get the next manifold on there. So let's get into that. Okay, so while Jake's cutting out the plenum, I think this has had enough time to dry. It has been out here for like 2 hours, so I'm gonna pull the tape off and then let's see how it looks. let's hope it looks really good. Well, there we have it. The worst wrap job I have ever done. But hey, it is not a show car. Don't know why. I think it was just one of those things. I was trying hard to keep tension, but it kept moving and just, it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. But it'll do the job. Like I said, it's under the car. You're not going to see it. It does the job. It'll do what it needs to be done, which is keep the heat off the CV and the, I forgot what the other one's called. Keep the heat off of them, make it live a little bit longer. But other than that, that is the end of today's video. Hope you're all having a good one. Hope you all enjoyed. And I'll see you all in the next video.